How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It's another exciting day on the Eric Erickson Show. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about. The phone number, if you want to be on the program, 877-973-7425. If you text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can get the show notes, the live stream, the podcast. In fact, now, if you go to ericerickson.com, my website, I finally was able to get it. ericerickson.com. At the top, we've embedded the player. You can turn it on and carry us wherever you are, 24/7. You can hear my voice. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. I can be the background music of your life. All right. We got to start. We have to start on a serious note now. The murder of the United Health insurance executive. Now, listen, I know the plight of people dealing with insurance. When my wife and I first got married, she had to have a double mastectomy. Now, here's why my wife needed the double mastectomy. You tell me if there might be an issue. All the women on her mother's side of the family had gotten breast cancer. If I understand right, a couple of the men as well. Her mother had died of breast cancer. Her aunt died of lung cancer, but had gotten the breast cancer. Her grandmother had breast cancer. Her grandmother's sisters had breast cancer. Great-grandmother. It was pervasive. And so we knew that my wife was probably going to get breast cancer. It's one of those frustrations in life that people deal with. Dealing with insurance companies is not fun. I understand that. Dealing with my wife trying to have a prophylactic double mastectomy when her family had a history of breast cancer, but she didn't have the BRCA testing done, or she did, but it came back inconclusive because technology had not caught up. And we had to fight the insurance company. And at first she was on Cobra, and then we were on insurance, and it was expensive and navigating insurance. And I get the frustrations people have with insurance companies. United Health Insurance, Brian Thompson's company, denied more claims than every other insurance company in America. So I can understand why some aggrieved person might wish him harm, if not want to kill him. In fact, the bullet casings found at the crime scene had notes, had words on them that mirrored a book about insurance companies and taking action against insurance companies. It appears that there is a correlation there. The shell casings had delay, deny, and defend written on them, which was also the title of a book from 2010 by Jay Feinman, an insurance professor criticizing insurance practices. The subtitle, Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Your Claims and What You Can Do About Them. Now, no one's saying that guy did it. There's a picture of who they think the murderer is in a hoodie. He's at least a person of interest they're looking for. Appears to be a young person. What's notable about this, though, is I get the frustrations with dealing with insurance. I have lived that life. Not just trying to save my wife's life, but after her prophylactic mastectomy, we continued to rely on the care of a plastic surgeon who I think actually didn't have our best interests and hard and ultimately had to change. And we had to fight insurance companies over redoing surgeries. There were surgeries done, and then the plastic surgery related to my wife's recovery didn't hold, and it had to be done multiple times again. It was awful, and fighting insurance all the time. And now my wife, we have a very good insurance company now through my work, and even now we sometimes have to fight because the medicine that keeps my wife alive is a very specific medicine, and oftentimes there are problems with insurance company reauthorizations despite her now being on it 8 years, and you got to pick up the phone and go through phone waiting hell. I get it. I get people's anger. What I don't get, however, is how people can process all that and translate into Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Health, got what he deserved. But that's exactly what's happening. And it is a dangerous, dangerous trend on the left as these people turn violent. And we need to review some of that violence because it is actually important for you to understand that the left has been historically violent. The left, we are lectured repeatedly, is not as much a threat as
I
want to
read for you a
Stop. Sorry, firing up accidentally old audio. The left in this country in the 1970s, there were bombings every week in California from environmental activists. We've had a mass assassination attempt against Republican members of Congress. We've had left-wing activists try to shoot up Congress itself, the House of Representatives. We've had bombs planted at the State Department. We've had the Weather Underground. The left historically in this country turns to violence. What happened after the election was a lot of progressive activists and a lot of reporters decided that Twitter was too violent and nasty of a place. There were too many neo-Nazis. There were too many right-wing racists and MAGA people. And so they went to a new social media outlet called Blue Sky. It had been around for a little while, very small. But now you got MSNBC even promoting Blue Sky as an alternative to Twitter. You still tweet. It looks like Twitter. It's designed by the people who designed Twitter. It looks very similar. But without all the MAGA people there, there's more robust banning of people and censoring of people there. And all these people decided they had to get off Twitter because Twitter was too nasty, too violent. And what has happened? They have gone to the website Blue Sky, and they are celebrating the murder of an insurance executive. No, I'm not making that up. Let me read you a tweet from Taylor Lawrence, who is the mentally deranged former technology reporter for the New York Times and Washington Post. Quoting, and people wonder why we want these executives dead. And she retweeted someone on Blue Sky, Jenny, quote, hypothetically, would it be considered an actionable threat to start emailing other insurance CEOs a simple "you're next"? Completely unrelated to current events, by the way. And then there was someone named Stu who highlighted somebody on Blue Sky saying the gunman is at large, so if you see anything, no, you didn't. Protect this person. Also do more. That's a hero. That's my hero. And Ken Klippenstein, a left-wing reporter, highlighting, today we remember the legacy of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, and he has a claim denial rate graph for insurance companies showing United Healthcare is the highest. These are terrible people. A professor at Columbia University who identifies himself as an trauma expert who is anti-violence and votes against genocide. He tweeted, today we mourn the death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Gunned down, wait, I'm sorry. Today we mourn the deaths of the 68,000 Americans who needlessly die each year so insurance company executives like Brian Thompson can become millionaires, except his data is wrong. It's over-exaggerated by socialist healthcare advocates. It's not actually accurate data. This man claims he's anti-violence and he's cheering on the death, the murder of a husband and father because he happens to be the CEO of an insurance company. They left Twitter to go to Blue Sky because Twitter was too nasty for them, and they're celebrating the death of an insurance CEO. I, my friends, have had problems with insurance companies and have had to fight with them to keep my wife alive. I do not wish this man dead, and yet someone on the left decided to murder him. And how do I know it's on the left? Because it's obvious. They are the ones cheering this on. And by the way, I want to point out to you this wild pattern. You will not be surprised to learn that the people celebrating the murder of an insurance company CEO are the same people celebrating October 7th. They are the same people who celebrated the death of Jews in Israel. They are the same people who condemned Israeli violence in Gaza. They are the exact same people. In this country, the left has a repeated history of violence. We have environmental activists, we have these healthcare activists, and you have members of the media celebrating these people as heroic. You had the New York Times give a fawning profile of a man who wrote a book on how to blow up pipelines. They are turning violence. And look no further than the reaction from the left to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Look at the lecturing tones of members of the mainstream media, from CBS to ABC to MSNBC, lecturing Donald Trump as if you got what you deserve because of the tone. These people are not just turning to violence. They built an entire media culture designed to pat them on the back for their turn to violence. Taylor Lawrence is the nut job who attacks people for quote-unquote raw dogging the air, meaning people walk around without a face mask on. It's 2024, and she thinks we should all still be masked up. She is a neurotic who has bullied people online while complaining about online bullies. She's celebrating the death of the CEO. She put up the picture of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association CEO for no reason at all, shortly after the news broke of a assassination of an insurance executive. The New York Times and the Washington Post put that lady into prominent technology writing positions. They confused insanity and genius, which probably explains the other problems those news outlets are having. These people are nuts, and they disproportionately dominate the thinking of the Democratic Party right now. They're turning violent before our eyes. And they continue to masquerade and say, well, the Biden Justice Department, the one that Joe Biden says persecutes people, says that white nationalists and Republicans are the ones we have to worry about. No, we're seeing who we have to worry about. The very people who claim they're scared to death about authoritarianism in this country, the very people who claim to worry about creeping right-wing violence in this country, they're the ones we have to worry about. A husband and father is dead. Children have lost their father. A wife has lost her husband. A company has lost its chief executive. And these people are celebrating the murderer as a hero. Something has profoundly broken people when they can look on the taking of an innocent life and rationalize that, well, he's not really innocent, he deserved it, because he made decisions they disagreed with. The Nazis never looked themselves in the mirror and thought they were the bad guys. Pol Pot never looked himself in the mirror and thought, I'm a bad guy. And these people do not look themselves in the mirror and think they're the bad guy. They all think they're the hero. And one of the narratives of profound evil in the world is how often the evil people consider themselves doing things for the greater good. Now we can understand why they're all at Blue Sky, so they can plot their evil together and cheer it on. AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of dollars invested, so buckle up. The problem is AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, Databricks, Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson, oracle.com/Erickson. Go check them out today. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, delighted to have you. Let me go to Chad calling from Montgomery. Welcome. How are you, man?
Hey, what's going on, Eric? Hadn't talked to you since the election's been over. It's been kind of interesting, hasn't it?
Yeah, it sure has. And, by the way, I was thinking about you the other day. You and I talking on Election Day, looking at those turnout numbers, and it just seemed so obvious, and sure enough, it was.
It was, wasn't it? Hey, so I want to talk a little bit about this report of Biden considering some preemptive pardons, which, of course, I think would be another principle that the Democrats have broken. All right. So have we ever had a president do preemptive pardons where people have never been actually investigated or charged with a crime? And then the excuse for it is that, well, Trump's going to politicize the Justice Department and go after these people. I'm like, yes, but what are you doing? You're
right.
Politicizing all these pardons. They're talking about Fauci and Mark Milley and Adam Schiff and Liz Cheney. And if that's going to happen, he's also going to throw his brother in there and the rest of his family members, right?
Right.
So my question to you is, if he does that, which would be, Democrats have strong principles until they don't. It's like I'm going to plant my flag on this hill until I got to move. So if he does do that and he preemptively pardons all these people, what's to keep Trump from doing the same thing? Okay, I'm going to preemptively pardon my entire cabinet for everything from this date backwards. I'm going to also preemptively pardon all my sons and my family members that they went after in the first administration. And by the way, let's just throw Steve Bannon and Roger Stone in there for good measure. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, look, I think he absolutely could do that, and this is why, for all the talk about norms, there really are no norms here. The Democrats are perfectly willing to shatter everything to preserve themselves, and they just set precedent. A great example of this, Chad, is the Chuck Schumer reconciliation package. The Democrats decided they had so much they wanted to get done, and they couldn't get it done in one reconciliation package. So they got the Senate parliamentarian to agree, we're going to let you do it in 2 reconciliation packages. Spread out over a year, you could do 2 of these. Now, guess what? John Thune said, thanks to the Democrats, we're going to do 2 of them. Thanks to the Democrats doing prospective pardons. By the way, that's something that Trump looked at doing and concluded he should not do. You need to understand that. He, the last time, decided, I shouldn't do this. And here you go. Look at him. All right. We gotta move on, and I got to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The 3-pack is available right now. Great Christmas gift, by the way. You got stinky odor in your house, you can get 3 of them: upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, your RV. I keep one in my luggage. It's small. I can hold it in my hand. And y'all, it just works. It genuinely works. Here's how it works. It wipes out odors by generating ozone that attract ions of odor. Odors are considered ions. They're charged particles. They touch the ozone, and they are destroyed. The new Eden Pure Thunderstorm also generates plasma, which touches bacteria and viruses and kills it. So it gets rid of pet dander. It gets rid of the dust. It gets rid of the pollen. It gets rid of bacteria. It gets rid of viruses. It gets rid of odors. It just works. You get 3 of them. You save $200. EdenPureDeals.com. Eden, like the Garden of Eden. Pure as the driven snow. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK, the number 3 at EdenPureDeals.com. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. I was going to talk about Pete Hegseth here. But I'll get to it. I've got some information to share with you. But I was thinking about this during commercial break. There was a phrase that people on the left started using, staccatic terrorism. Wikipedia says it's a form of political violence instigated by hostile public rhetoric directed at a group or an individual. Unlike incitement to terrorism, staccatic terrorism is accomplished with indirect, vague, or coded language, which grants the instigator plausible deniability to be associated with violence. You got that? And the left has essentially embraced this term. There's a piece at Drexel University, Ending the Right's Reign of Staccatic Terror. The University of New Mexico, Staccatic Terrorism, Speech Incantations. There's a story at Mother Jones, a left-wing site, Donald Trump, Staccatic Terrorist. The American Psychological Association, Incitement to Violence and Staccatic Terrorism. And all of this, by the way, it's a very recent buzzword. It's something that happened in the last number of years. It happened essentially, the phrase really took off around the time Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked. And remember, a lot of the left's initial presumption was that the guy was a Donald Trump supporter. Turned out to be an insane person. But they refer to it as staccatic terror. This is from Vox from 2022, left-wing site. The political environment less than a week before the midterm elections has a broad swath of the American public on edge, particularly after high-profile incidents of political violence, both foiled and perpetrated. According to a new poll by the Washington Post and ABC News, about 88% of U.S. adults from across the political spectrum are concerned about political violence around the midterms. Keep in mind, this again is from 2022. Though incidents of direct specific violence are rare, the risk feels heightened. Another critical element that creates the environment of fear and paranoia is oblique, veiled threats or acceptance of violence that public figures, including former President Donald Trump, make about their adversaries. Staccatic terrorism. The idea that even if people in power don't specifically call their followers to violence, by entertaining it as a legitimate tactic or by demonizing a political opponent on a platform capable of reaching millions of people, one of those millions will be inspired to violent action. Again, what's so important here is that the left has started using this phrase to define the right, and yet here we have an insurance executive in this country who's been murdered, and the left is cheering it on. At the same time, remember there was the man on death row who was executed for murdering a 9-year-old, and the left said it was racism to kill the guy. Every time there's a murderous monster on death row, the left gets upset about executing him if he's black. If it's white, they don't care. If it's black, though, it's all racism. They're perfectly happy to have grandmothers in abortion clinics who are praying rounded up and thrown in jail. But this guy who murdered an insurance executive, they think he's a hero and they want to help him. They want an underground railroad of political assassins of their opponents. There's something profoundly disturbing. But, it's not just that. It is not just an element of the left. It is happening across the political spectrum. Both sides are willing to defend the bad actors on their own side. And anyone who points out that maybe this isn't a good idea is chastised, otherized, condemned, threatened themselves. I got an email this morning from a friend of mine, and he says, I can't believe you're willing to defend Pete Hegseth. His personal behavior is despicable. And my reply to him was, his personal behavior was despicable, but is it still despicable? Are we not allowed to allow people to change and grow. By all accounts, Pete Hegseth has found Jesus. He's involved in a very conservative evangelical denomination that is derived from my own denomination, the PCA, as I understand it right, confessing evangelicals. He was a horrible person. He cheated repeatedly on his first wife, including, I believe, with his second wife, and then cheated on his second wife repeatedly, got married a third time, has found God, has multiple kids. The question is, has he turned his life around? There are all sorts of accusations about him drinking on the job at Fox. All the people on the record say it's not true. 10 people off the record say it is true. They don't want to come forward and put their name on it. But for all the people who are saying, oh, Pete Hegseth, he's a horrible human being, look at how he treated women, what's the statute of limitations on being a terrible person? What's the statute of limitations? We're all fallen. We're all sinners. We've all committed sins. We're all terrible people in our own way. None of us want to look at ourselves as being terrible people. We want to look at the other person as a terrible person. Look at these people who want to blast the right for stochastic terrorism, and yet they want to give a pass to a man who murdered an insurance executive because they think the insurance executive was the bad guy. Where do we offer people grace? And that's my conundrum with Hegseth. I think Hegseth has problems with his nomination. Now, I realize that one of the nonprofits come forward and says the allegations about his mismanagement of funds and whatnot isn't true, but there are questions about his management. And can Pete Hegseth, who didn't necessarily create a thriving nonprofit, can he take on the bureaucracy of the Pentagon? The whole reason Pete Hegseth is going to the Pentagon is to upend the Pentagon. Is he capable of doing it? And I do think character counts, and Pete Hegseth had terrible character, including his mother saying he had terrible character, but his mother now vouches for his character and says he turned his life around. How many years back are we supposed to go to condemn someone for their prior behaviors, or can we grant them some grace when they've turned their life around? Now, granted, if he was screwing around on his wife last year, that's a problem. If it's 10 years ago, if it's 5 years ago, where do we draw the line on that? Should he not be able to make his case that he's a competent fit to the senators, or do we condemn him for his past sins? I think maybe allow him to make his case. And here's the thing as well. On the other side of this, very frankly and bluntly with you, I tell you exactly what I think. If Republicans expend their political capital on Pete Hegseth, despite his prior behavior, and they get him into the Pentagon and he doesn't prove himself competent, think about all the political capital expended to get a guy across the finish line who isn't capable of doing his job. Maybe he is. This is the fight Donald Trump has chosen to fight, and his supporters are choosing to fight it, and Pete Hegseth doesn't want to get out. I say let him make his case. The reality is it's not just members of the Republicans in the Senate who are trying to get Pete Hegseth out of his job. It is also Republican members of the Trump transition team who do not think Hegseth is capable of getting the votes of the Senate, and they want him gone. Yes, you're hearing me right. I'm telling you the truth. Members of Donald Trump's own transition team are trying to sabotage Pete Hegseth. They're blaming Joni Ernst and Lindsey Graham, but they always blame Lindsey Graham. And Joni Ernst is also being up for the job. The Trump supporters don't want Joni Ernst in the job for a variety of reasons, and so they're trying to blame her and claim that she's the one behind the character assassination of Pete Hegseth. It's not true, but they don't care. They don't care about truth. This is all very tribal. The left doesn't care about truth. These people don't care about truth. They care about their guy. The truth, however, is Pete Hegseth was a terrible person and appears to have turned his life around, so let him make his case. Maybe he can get the votes. Maybe he can't. Right now, he doesn't have the votes. He does not have the votes in the United States Senate at the moment. Maybe he can get them. But I don't think we should allow the people cheering on the murder of a healthcare CEO to have any say whatsoever in whether or not Pete Hegseth should be able to be in the job. Look, his past failings concern me to this extent. If he becomes Secretary of Defense, he's going to be moved out of his Tennessee home and church. He's going to be put inside a bubble, security bubble where he will be protected and will be allowed his worst vices to come out. It will be bad for his sanctification unless he really has had a change of heart. But if he does come out in that capacity and he fails at his job, then that too is something for the rest of us to pay attention to. I do think there's a question here for Donald Trump supporters of this regard. Is it more important to get these people confirmed, or is it more important that the job be done? The idea that Pete Hegseth is the only person who can go to the Pentagon and up into the Pentagon is nonsense. The job of upending the Pentagon is more important. Same with the DOJ. We got rid of Gates. Now there's Pam Bondi. She'll probably do a more competent job of Matt Gaetz. She won't be mired in scandal. That's going to have to ultimately be the question, though. Is the man indispensable or is the job indispensable? Right now, all of Donald Trump's supporters have taken the position that Pete Hegseth is a hill to die on. He must be confirmed, and I'm fine with that. Let's see if he's turned his life around. Let's see if he really is the man he and his friends, his acquaintances at church, all that now claim that he is. I'm interested to see where this goes. Let's see. Let's let him make his chance. To my friend who texted this morning and said, you're being way more charitable than I am given his personal issues, that would be completely discrediting to me. Well, yeah, I generally would say the same thing, but you know what? The President of the United States pardoned his crackhead son, and the Democrats seem to be fine with it. Republicans have now twice sent to the White House a man who's had repeated affairs with his wives. Americans clearly don't care about these personal sexual peccadillos of American presidential candidates and their appointees anymore, so why should I? I do think character counts, but also I hear that Pete Hegseth is a changed man who found Jesus, and I think if you're a changed man who's found Jesus, we should give you a chance to see if that's actually the case, and if so, you move forward, make your case. Allow him to meet with the senators and allow him to get the votes. And allow him to go. And if he fails, I want you to just remember, if he does fail, if he's overwhelmed by the job, if he can't do it, I said this is one of the things we got to wonder about. These picks, is it worth spending the capital to get these people across if they fail at their job? Donald Trump is a lame duck president from day one. He'll have about 2 years to make profound reform before the midterm elections. He needs to be firing on all cylinders from day one. I'm not sure it's wise to be bogged down with candidates for these jobs who are mired in past scandal, but that's what he wants. So let's do it. Let's let Pete Hegseth see if he can convince the senators. There's no reason for him to walk away. There's no reason for him to withdraw his nomination. We're seeing a character assassination real time, and many of the allegations not even true. So let's let him do it. And let's not give the heckler's veto to the people cheering on the murder of a healthcare CEO. Now, let me tell you about Old Glory Bank before I get out of here. They are my bank. I have my personal checking, my personal savings account with them. You can too. OldGloryBank.com. OldGloryBank.com. If you're a business and you need a bank, Old Glory Bank was started by conservatives for conservatives. You get a great relationship with them and their lender, all of that. OldGloryBank.com. I've sent now 6 businesses to Old Glory Bank. All of them have been happy. One of them had a complex loan they needed. Old Glory Bank sent someone to them, hands-on, even though they're an online bank. Physically flew someone to their business. They sat down with them. They began to understand their business. They began to understand their books. They began to understand their revenue flow, their liabilities, and they were great to work with, as a friend of mine says. And the very complex business, and Old Glory Bank was stepped up and showed them greater service than their old bank did. OldGloryBank.com. They can help you. They would love to have your business. They would love to have you as a customer. I love them so much. I've invested in them. I think they're a great bank, the bank of the future. OldGloryBank.com. You can get your account set up online in less than 8 minutes. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. This hour of the program is brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. Wherever you are nationwide, First Liberty can help your business. If you're buying a building, you're building a building, you need a heavy equipment loan. You got good credit. They can move fast because they make their own decisions. The better your credit, the faster they can move. I would reach out to them. If you're a business and you need to grow, the Frost family's been doing this since the 90s. They're still there. You're still working with the same great people. FirstLibertyGA.com. They work with any business nationwide. Reach out to them. Their contact info is there. FirstLibertyGA.com. Y'all, I don't know what I want for. Well, I know what I want for Christmas, but everything I want for Christmas is too expensive for me to ask my wife and kids to buy me for Christmas, and I'm terrible to buy because if I want something, I tend to get it. So now I got to come up with a Christmas list of stuff that I want that is like reasonable for my family to potentially get me. And one of the things I need, so my golf coach. Kyle Morris has recommended I get a net in my backyard and a mat to go on the ground, not just the grass, but a mat to go out there. So I think that's what I want. I gotta up my practice before I go back to him, and so that's what I want. And then there's Dolly Parton and her sister came out with a cookbook, and I think I want that. But otherwise, I don't know. But here's what I think, and I guess Charlie, if you're listening to me, I may need to pick your brain on this. We tend to do a family vacation. And in doing a family vacation, I'm wondering about taking my family to Big Sky, Montana. I've never been. And then going to see Yellowstone this summer. Because my wife wants to travel more, but she's so worn out. But I'm thinking of doing that. There's several nice resorts at Big Sky. I thought about Glacier National Park. I'd like to see that, but there aren't really a lot of all the lodges around Glacier National Park are already sold out through like August of next year. But I could go keep us in Big Sky, and then we can drive to the west side of Yellowstone, which I hear is actually not as crowded as the south entrance. That's kind of what I'm thinking, and maybe just surprise them, and it'll stress out my wife because she's already exhausted from travel. But I'm thinking that's it. That we take this trip, and that can be them doing that too. Would be a great way to proceed. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I've been to Montana once to do my producer's wedding, and then I gave a speech up there once in Missoula. But I just think having my kids see the Big Rocky Mountains. I mean, it's something like my gosh, it's nowhere near like the Appalachian Mountains. It's actually real mountains. No offense to those of you in the Appalachians, but as my producer Charlie can attest, we have hills east of the Mississippi. They have mountains west of the Mississippi, and so that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing. But I still don't know what I want for Christmas. I'm very hard to buy for. I want to have something under the tree. I guess I need to find some cookbooks. But then you know what I'm getting, so I might as well buy them myself. That's the hard thing, is if I got something I want, I buy it. All right, when we come back, the preemptive pardons. Caller Chad brought that up. We got preemptive pardons by the Biden administration. We don't even know if they're constitutional. To give a blanket pardon for a crime someone might have committed. Even the Donald Trump team decided that Donald Trump could not do preemptive pardons, and yet here comes the Democrats shattering norms, and notice no one's accusing them of shattering the norms. I wonder why. We will discuss that when we get right back here, and I'll take your phone calls, 877-973-7425.